Welcome to the Instagram Stories Weekend Edition. I'm your host, Daniel Hill. There is a lot of social media news. Let's dive right in. First, on the TikTok blog, they have announced something called Direct Post, seamless integrations with Adobe and a range of partners. Here's how this works. If you are using an app like, for instance, Adobe Premiere Pro or Adobe Rush or Twitch or other kinds of video apps, whether they're editing apps or content creation for live streaming, whatever, they are integrating something called Direct Post, which allows you to take that content and go directly to TikTok without leaving the workflow. So it's easier to create and share content. If you think about your current editing process, you probably have to export from, for instance, Adobe Premiere Pro to a file, then somehow transfer that to your phone, like through Google Drive or Dropbox or something similar, then upload it to TikTok. It's a lot of steps. So being able to do this directly through the apps that you use to edit or create that video is going to make your life a lot easier. Here's the quote from TikTok, quote, "Now more than ever, publishing content in real time has become a necessity, and creators of all skill levels need tools that can empower them with greater efficiency and without constraints. With the new Direct Post feature for TikTok available in Adobe Express and Premiere Pro, creators can continue to create standout content, but with increased speed and without any interruption to their creative workflows." End quote. They list all the third-party platform partners that are integrating with this API in order to do this: Adobe Premiere Pro, Adobe Express, CapCut, DaVinci Resolve, Social Pilot, and Twitch. I will link to this blog post so you can check it out for yourself, but this is very important for time-saving purposes. In other news, a data privacy researcher named Jorge Caballero uncovered in the Threads app that Threads is working on direct messaging inside the Threads app. He tweeted that they will probably be end-to-end encrypted with the option of having those DMs self-vanishing, also called ephemeral. If you think about the Snapchat principle where you send the message, once it's seen, it's gone, this is what we're talking about here. He included some screenshots in the tweet explaining that they are for the on-device database schema of the iOS Threads app, and that the specific files he's put in the screenshot don't exist in the same place within the Instagram app. So this isn't just copy and pasted source code, this is something entirely different. Let's talk quickly about why the Threads app would need its own separate DM box. I would say that the main reason to do that is to compete with X, formerly known as Twitter, which has its own DM box. However, how many boxes do we need? If you think about having one for Facebook Messenger, Instagram, WhatsApp, and now Threads, that is a lot of meta inboxes to check. Not a fan of that concept myself, but I could see how someone else would want it, especially if they're used to the X, formerly known as Twitter, DM interface. We are going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about how you can stop Instagram from tracking you across other sites and apps, as well as some X, formerly known as Twitter, content news. So stick around. Are you ready to monetize your social posts and ride the instant shopping trend? Check out BecauseILoveIt.com, known as Billy. I've connected with them recently, and I'm loving their vision to empower influencers. Whether you're on Instagram, TikTok, or any other platform, Billy is where you can create your own online store to feature products you love. The best part is that brands reward you with a commission on every sale. Easy as that. Visit BecauseILoveIt.com/Daniel Hill to join Billy and get $100 in free credits to share with your audience. Head over to the link in the show notes to learn more and sign up. And we're back. Okay, let's get into an Instagram update that has to do with tracking you. In case you were unaware, Meta as a whole tracks you wherever you go on the internet because you're using their apps. And even if you don't use their apps, they're still tracking you across the internet. However, Meta has added the ability to turn some of those tracking mechanisms off and delete some of the past ones. That's been available as a feature for Facebook for quite a while, but now they are expanding it to Instagram as well. If you open up the Facebook app and you go into settings, there's an option there called privacy, and then you select your information and permissions. When you open up that, there's a option called your activity off Meta Technologies. This is where they're tracking you across the internet. What's really interesting is that you can disconnect specific connections to other sites that are tracking you. you can clear all the previous activity as well as change the settings for future activities that you do across the web. I do not like being tracked, so I like to turn these things off and reset them periodically. I find it very frustrating how many tools I use to stop myself from being tracked around the internet, and yet it's really not as effective as it could be because of all the things that Meta has built around the web and on your phone. I will link to how to turn all of this off and reset yourself in the show notes. Definitely check that out. And lastly, X, formerly known as Twitter, has announced some improvements to its Community Notes feature. Let's talk briefly about what Community Notes is. If you see some posts on Twitter that are controversial, that may or may not be accurate, people who have volunteered as community members can add context to the issue with links or other supporting documentation so that you can determine whether or not that tweet that you see is factually accurate or not. I want to point out that, in my opinion, X should be paying its employees or someone specifically to do this, not asking members of the community to do it for free. You don't have to do it though, so if you're a member of the X community, you don't want to do it, then don't volunteer for it. But I still think this is something that a company with a large payroll should be able to finance. X announced speed updates to the community notes, so basically when someone posts something that needs to be reviewed by the community, people will see those community additional notes much more quickly, which is important due to some of the political issues that we're seeing and misinformation being posted. I will link to this in the show notes so that you can check it out. That is going to do it for today's episode. Be sure to come back on Monday for Mosseri Monday, and hey, create some content this weekend. Do something, video, text, audio, whatever it is, make some content, push your boundaries. I'm working on something that I'm pretty excited about, and so that's why I'm saying you can create something too. Send it to me. I want to see it. Be sure to come back on Monday for Mosseri Monday.
Instagram news got you covered, sometimes even TikTok. Relevant platforms in the metaverse ahead of the wave, without a break or a pit stop. Still waiting for Zuckerberg to give me the big job. Pause. Use trademarks and logos with Insta's permission, of course. If you like the show and you gain some good info, maybe leave a review. It's a type of applause. Just drop me a message if you want to collab. If you got some good content or you want to run ads, at Daniel Hill Media is where I am. TikTok, Facebook and Instagram.